Hi, this is praios, and today we look into the biggest pots Jnandez played in 2022. I hope this will not only be aces, but also some other interesting hands. But yeah, we will see. I obviously forgot to start. What is it called? PLO Trainer. By the way, if you want to push your poker game to the next level, I have many links in the description where you can find the software I'm using myself. So that's PLO Trainer. We will use this in case we are unsure about spots. And yeah, before we jump into it, consider to check out my second channel too. It's called Finance with Excel. I talk there about finance, cryptocurrency, and yeah, investments in general. Most about crypto currently, as it's down a lot and probably or a lot of opportunities in there. But yeah, anyways, let's come to the main topic of the day. Jnandez and his biggest pots in 2022. Although, I mean, this video is a bit strange because 2022 isn't finished yet. So yeah, but anyways, let's get into it.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video over here on YouTube. Today I'm going to jump into the 10 biggest hands that I've won at the VIP games on GG Poker in the last couple of months. I will also make an episode where I show you the 10 biggest hands that I lost at the VIP.
Oh, that's a bit disappointing. So that's the 10 biggest pots he won. I would have liked it more when it would be a mix between things. We already know that any of these pots was won.
VIP games as well. So this episode, I will be lucky. I will be blessed. I will have the run good. Next episode, not so much. Okay.
His hand is bad. So let's see how this develops. Probably like a big blind defense or something.
Okay, so don't be mad. Don't be angry. Yes, I will be very lucky in some of these hands, but sometimes I'm also skillful. So without further ado, let's jump into the action. First hand, we're playing 50-100. So basically the VIP tables on GG Poker are $25, $50 blinds upwards. And we will look into hands between 25-50 and 100-200 in this episode because these are the stakes that I'm playing. There are also bigger games on GG. So this is the first hand, ace 9-4-3. This is not a...
Yeah, easy defend. I mean, the nut flush draw can be huge in the multi-way pot. I mean, our hand isn't great, but getting the discount, we have to call.
A hand you generally want to call in a spot like this. It's usually not good enough if you play against 3 players. Like, they have better hands too much, and even though we have a suited ace, the
I disagree. I think it's good enough with the discount.
Activity in our hand is really marginal. A quick look into PLO Trainer.
Okay, he does our work. He has a web version, by the way. There's also another version where you can have it on your local machine.
You can find out more about this app on PLOtrainer.app. We have GG Poker ranges for high stakes over here. If you look into an MP Open, cutoff calls, small blind calls, and then our strategy in the big blind, we're only going to defend about 20% of the hands. And this ace 9-4-3 single suited nuts is a hand that wants to fold. And if we fold, or when we fold, we lose 1 big blinds, which is the big blind we put in the middle.
Okay, I was actually wrong. And look here, 0.23 dB, you lose more than you defend this. I thought this is definitely good enough. So yeah, I mean, shit, I was like very certain that this is good enough.
And therefore you see the EV is -1, and the alternative is the call, and the EV of that is going to be -1.23. So it's actually, it's a pretty thin situation. Like, you can make arguments for making a call like this because the EV difference between calling and folding isn't too large. And if you think you have a decent edge on one or multiple players in the hand, then it might be an okay defend. So I think calling here is okay. We have some aggressive players in the pot. We have some action players in the pot. And I flop here a bottom pair and a gut shot. But that's not actually that important. What's more important in this situation is that this is a board that's very tough to hit for the players that are cold calling.
Okay, that's true. This board hits his range better than the range of everyone else. But yes, people still sometimes have something like 4-5, so... And he said that these guys are action players, and one of these dudes has 47 VPIP, so playing 50% of his hand, so he definitely can hit this better than him if this is also his UTG or MP open raising. So the argumentation would be correct if he plays against normal regs, but looks like these guys are not normal regs, and the small blind is even more loose with 56% VPIP. So yeah, I think his logic is flawed in this case.
Here before the flop, because they usually have high cards. And even if they do end up calling the flop with something like an overpair and a gutter, I also have equity against those hands holding a gut shot and a pair and a backdoor nut flush draw. And this was a board that actually the big blind...
I was worried a bit that my microphone was not working, but it is.
It's going to hit a lot better than all the other ranges. We're going to have 6-6, deuce-deuce, and 3-3 a lot more often than the callers and the raiser, as well as the straight. So it's a good board to lead out on and apply pressure. As far as sizing is concerned, I don't think we have to go super large.
Yeah, I already said that this is not correct against the particular players he's playing against. But yeah, in general, this would be a good approach to try to take this one down with some additional equity with the backdoor flush draw and the gut shot. But yeah, in this case, I don't think it's a great idea against people that loose.
You can go something like a third and apply a lot of pressure. And the reason we apply a lot of pressure is not only because of the sizing. I mean, it's mainly not because of the sizing. It's more because of the multi-way dynamic. If Gallagher here to my left sees a 1/3 pot size sizing, like he has to consider the other two players behind as well. And therefore, you can sandwich people pretty well by using a small sizing. So I like my sizing. I think choosing this hand is a little bit dicey, even though I was mentioning it's a good board to lead. In general, you preferably have hands that can make the nuts on the turn. So for example, a gut shot or 2-pair or a set. Especially, I mean, I have a gut shot as well, but especially a nut gut shot where you feel really comfortable on some of the turns. This hand in particular is not comfortable on any turn. That's a little bit of a problem when it comes to leading ranges. Anyway, we bet and we get called by the cutoff. Cutoff can definitely have like king, 7-5, for example, at this point, king, 6-7. Could have a hand like 8-7, 6-5. So there are definitely plenty of hands that I can still beat, especially on this turn, obviously.
He could also just have 4-5, but actually this is a bad card for 4-5. We also block 4-5, and this is a great card for our hand. He should not have too many threes.
And now, as we have trips, what are we going to do? I think I decided to check. And I think on this turn,
once he most likely made the best hand, he decided to check. Interesting. I think he could also make an argument for betting again. I mean, even if he has a straight, you're never getting raised, and it's very unlikely. I mean, what should he have? What beats you? And he could be stubborn and continue calling with like king on it and stuff.
We can certainly justify betting as well. It's a really good turn for me. I'm going to have 6-3. I'm going to have 6-6, deuce, 3. Like I will have these combos a lot more often than...
I mean, you also have to think about what hands should your opponent be bluffing with, and don't see too many.
My opponent in terms of pre-flop ranges. So betting, I think, is the standard. Thing though is...
Yeah, I also think that betting is standard.
If my opponent is very aggressive, we could also think about checking. I don't think I get that much action on an offsuit 3 by betting because the flop was 4-way. So now my opponent starts polarizing and is like, you know what? I think I have a really good hand. So now he's basically saying, I have 6-6, 6-3, maybe a straight sometimes. Basically, he's saying he has me beat. Now, we're not going to buy this, obviously holding a 3. So we call, river's an 8. Doesn't improve our hand. But also, we were not drawing dead, but we were drawing really thin against the value on the turn anyway. If he has 6-6, we're obviously looking really bad. And if he has 6-3, don't have many outs either. But at the same time, man, it's really tough to pick up those 6s, you know? It's really tough to have pockets.
Wow. This is very, very sick. I mean, we already know that he won the hand, so he's probably going for the check call, but man, what are you beating? And also think about the situation. I mean, on the turn, you were betting against 3 other dudes. He had one more guy behind. He still called. And many of the hands he calls the flop with don't need to bluff. I mean, like something like King or something could just check back and try to get to showdown. So I would be very scared. I mean, but he also looks quite polarized. I mean, is he betting a straight like this? Probably not. But what is he bluffing with? I mean, I have a very hard time finding things that he could bluff with. I mean, like 6 deuce maybe, or 6-8 where he's blocking full houses with. And he also had to bet the turn. I mean, it makes sense that he could call with like 6, 7, 8, 5 or something. Are these enough cards? I think so. Or 6, 5. Yeah, I mean, there could be hands in there where he's calling with a 6 and a gut shot or something. Or like an overpair which he turns into a bluff. But he will not do this always. Very, very tough spot in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, you probably can find a few bluffs, but not many. Especially because he bet the flop so small that his opponent could have peeled quite loose. But yeah, he has to make the crying call in my opinion. But yeah, it's I would be almost certain that I'm beat here. And yeah, another reason to call here is because of range considerations. I mean, he already has one of the best hands he could have in this situation. And yeah, he's also blocking possible full houses by having a 3 in his hand. So yeah.
6s when you cold call the cutoff. Sometimes you have Jack, 6, and in this situation, obviously, you know I'm going to win the hand. Sometimes you just got to call down, especially if you play against capable and aggressive players. So we call.
Yeah, that's like, did I call the hand or did I call the hand? Sick. Yeah. Okay, let's just continue.
And we end up winning against the 8-7-6-4. My opponent turning a 6 into a bluff. And I would say, in general, I would be really careful.
Yeah, he also had like an 8-2 on the river, so not sure if he would have followed through without the 8. So his bluffing range probably is quite small.
Doing this just because you have to consider your pre-flop range, and your pre-flop range just doesn't have 6-3, 6-6, or deuce 3 that often in there. So it's definitely an ambitious play. And this time, it didn't work against Nizzles, which is good for us.
I think his play made perfectly sense, actually.
Head over to the next hand, otherwise this video will be an hour long. Okay, so in this hand, we're playing 25-50. Let's speed this a little bit up. 2x. We see a 3x open and a call. This is a hand that you can... Well, let's have a quick look into the solution here. If we look into an under the gun open and a call, I would say by default, this is a little bit tricky.
I think it's a call, but not sure.
Like a little bit close. So by default, we just want to call with these combos.
Aha. So I was correct. But yeah, if you have the king high and the ace high suit, you can, although that's actually not true. You always, even with the better suits, you... Oh, look at this. With the jack high suit, it's... Is it a fold? No, no, no. I mean, the solver isn't sure himself. He has like percentages all over the place. But yeah, looks like this is a call. I mean, UTG ranges are supposed to be tight, so you can't go overboard with hands like this.
The thing though is these guys have very wide ranges, so we could assume something along the lines more of like an MP and cutoff call. Like, I think their ranges are even wider than that, to be honest. But you can see if we have an ace and a king high suit, so you can make the ace high.
Yeah, but against MP, it's still not a 3-bet with the suit he had got.
Flush and the king high second flush.
Actually, it's a squeeze.
So the ace and the king have a different suit.
Case.
Then those hands will become pure 3-bets against the MP and cutoff range. This MP range here is about, what is this, like 20%? If we look into it for a moment, this range is supposed to be 23%. I think that the players and the ranges in play though, like if you go back quickly to this hand, this player has a 50% VPIP and this player has a 32% VPIP, and he's also aggressive when it comes to open racing. So I do think that these ranges are actually quite a bit wider. And we're working with something like 30% and then a button cold calling range, you know, something along the lines of like a 20% plus. And we have to, so I think using the small blind 3-bet squeezing range is a little bit more appropriate for the spot. And it's always important to consider what's the GTO.
But if he does it this way, he also is not having 2 more people behind left to act. So this is not that accurate. And I think, I mean, how many people are in there? I mean, he's actually opening from the middle position as one guy is sitting out. And 32% seems not too wide and could just be, based on the sample size, Stinger seems to be too aggressive, but yeah, I personally would like a call a bit more, but definitely not a good, not a big mistake either way.
And also how my opponent's actually playing and in which way can we exploit that. So I think this is a good squeeze, but it's certainly on the lighter end when it comes to the baseline strategy. And we do see 2 calls. Flop is amazing, top pair, not flush draw, and also a gutter. I think on this flop, given that I'm in position and I'm not going to just like bet, if you consider the stack sizes, like we still have an SPR of 3, an SPR of a little bit more than 2. And because it is multi-way, I think that we can justify a small sizing here, something like 700. But at that time, I was playing more like half pot. And I think that's okay. The thing that's a little bit tricky here is that unfortunately we have the ace and the king of clubs, which hurts us obviously.
No, I think it's fine. The sizing he choose. Yeah, turn is also okay-ish. I mean, he's getting beat by some stuff, but 4-6 and ace-4 are also kind of unlikely. So yeah, definitely continuing to bet and trying to get the money in.
Because no one can have the king high flush draw. Turn is a 5.
Sizing is a bit tricky. Let's see what he does.
And now on the 5, we might think, well, maybe it's time to slow down. We are going to lose against ace-4 and 4-6.
Definitely not slowing down, but yeah, let's see what he argues.
But I think the reality is we have the best hand here extremely often. It's not like ace-4 is going to call $1,000 on the flop, like half pot, like that often, unless it has a flush draw, which we block. I mean, ace-4 of clubs is jamming anyway, I would think. So I'm not too afraid of a straight. Not afraid of a set. I think my opponent is going to have a jack, maybe backdoor diamonds alongside, a hand like king, king, 5-6.
I think he could also have like a weaker flush draw and some sort of pair, or yeah. So yeah, definitely getting more money in.
maybe a hand along the lines of a flush draw. And I want to get value, but if I bet pot on this turn, a lot of these hands are just going to fold.
Yeah, I think pot is too much. Something along the lines of half pot seems to be the correct play.
And we don't want them to fold. We don't want king, king, 6-5 to fold. We don't want a hand like a flush draw to fold because we have the uber nuts basically against those combos. So I'm going to use a very unconventional sizing here and quarter pot the turn. And the whole idea here is just induce, trying to make him call. And actually what happens is he jams all in. And actually when he jammed all in, I wasn't too happy. I was like, what? Come on.
Nah, I think it's okay if he jams in. I mean, he could have induced with his sizing. I mean, his opponent could also have picked up something like 2 pair or something. Those lucky 2 pair like him, maybe even worse ones. And yeah, I wouldn't be scared at all after the shove. And yeah, it seems like his strategy worked out pretty well as his opponent shoved with complete garbage.
Call obviously, but he does have the bare flush draw, no pair, no straight draw. And we're actually looking at a 100% check mark on the turn already in a $14,000 pot. Ship it, flush on the river for both players doesn't change a thing. All right, next hand. We have king, queen, queen, 10 at 50, 100. Okay, we see a cutoff open raise. Yeah, I remember this hand. I also reviewed this hand or ran this hand in a sim.
I think this could actually be a fold.
We 3-bet. Again, this is a good 3-bet.
Is it, though? I think this is not a good 3-bet. What? Okay, we are even... I mean, we could also use the 50 BB sims, but yeah, this is a 100 BB sim. Let's see how this hand does in a 100 big blind sim. It's supposed to call always. Okay, let's go with the 50 BB stack size. Double suited, it's probably 3-bet. Well, I mean, not even sure, but yeah, this way. I mean, for 50 BB, it could also be okay-ish. Nope, still just calling, so not sure what he's talking about.
You want to be careful against MP, probably not 3-bet. But again,
also, why the fuck is he not using 4-color deck? I think even GG has this. I mean, you can really easily mess something up and see something wrong. So these are like core concepts. Every poker player does it, and he not. I mean, he's also cashing out in the other video, and he is not using 4-color deck.
Always depends on the ranges in play. I put in calls. Notice we started the hand with less than 100 big blinds, and now on this flop, it's very hard for the cutoff to have me beat. I mean, he can have kings, but like some of the kings are folding. If he has kings and diamonds,
yeah, that's also a reason why you don't 3-bet this hand, because now your life sucks pretty much.
I mean, that's a real bummer. But it's hard to have 10-10, 10-6, 10 deuce in the cutoff open raising range. I also block A10. So at this point, we're just going to stick it in and close our eyes, hope for a fold.
Okay, when he's getting in, I would be insanely unhappy and expect to have very little equity, but I get the point, and once you bet, you might be committed. So yeah, I don't hate his flop play, but I hate his pre-flop play, and it's also not solver approved.
We still get action, obviously, from flush draws. In this case, our opponent does have a flush draw, ace, jack, jack, 8, with the jack high diamond.
Oh, he got very lucky that he is playing against something from his opponent range that he actually is having good equity against. But even against that, he's an underdog. I mean, his opponent could also easily have like king with diamonds when he's like completely destroyed. Or like ace high flush draw with a pair, also completely destroyed.
I mean, it's interesting pre-flop call. If we have a quick glance into an open over here, this is now the small blinds strategy. I wish I had kings, but we have.
His opponent probably also takes into account that he is way to lose with his 3-bets. I mean, that's also how he is arguing all the time.
This hand. We actually have this hand. Oh, wow. We are actually not 3-betting this hand. I forgot my own review. It's not a default 3-bet at least. It's the closest
0%.
with a king high suit for sure-ish. So you can make arguments, but
yeah, he now realized that he's not supposed to 3-bet.
It's not a default 3-bet. So we are a little bit out there. We're a little bit loose in this hand. But again, there are always reasons to also expand a little bit if you think your opponent is light. And you can see my opponent.
I mean, the hand from your opponent is complete garbage. I think he probably has to fold pre-flop. So, not sure what he did there. Although, looks like it's an open, but then it's supposed to fold to the 3-bet. I mean, that's the easiest fold to the 3-bet you could have ever.
Is supposed to raise fold the ace, jack, jack, 8 with a jack high suit. It's going to get into too many dominated spots post-flop in this 3-bet pot scenario. In this case, it works out for him because he has the flush draw and I don't. And we flip on the flop in this $14,800 pot. I think we ran it once. Oh, twice. Okay, he wants it twice. We accept. And we win the first one and the second one. Again, I run pure in this video because we're only looking at winning hands. So it's a cool hand. Pre-flop a little bit light. Next hand, King 997. King 997. Can't even remember this one. How did I get involved? I guess I open raised the cutoff.
This open raise also seems on the speculative side. I mean, I think it's not an open, to be honest. You are opening about 30% or something, a bit less probably, and I guess this is not making the cut. But let's see. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are deeper than 150 bigs. We open raise and we face a 3-bet from the small blind, and we obviously call.
Maybe he needs to do a little bit more theory, or he's making so much money with his coaching side that he doesn't care. And this is more or less just promoting all his offers and not playing well anymore. But I mean, I did not play for like a year, and I was like, okay, that's no way it's an open, and I was right. So, and he should be more knowledgeable when he's playing regularly.
So far, so good. Like in position at this stack depth, there aren't many hands you want to consider folding. Like some of the worst ace-x hands with low suits.
Yeah, that's a good flop.
Consider folding. We flop middle set on jack 9-3. Amazing hand, obviously. Sure, my opponent can have ace jack jack, but mostly will have aces, some kings, some ace king queen jack. He checks. We certainly want to put out a bet here. Half pot.
I would definitely bet.
Applies a lot of pressure. And gives us a lot of room to maneuver on turns and rivers.
Could even bet a big more in my eyes.
Given the stack depth, you can also make arguments for betting bigger. But that would sort of lower the amount of hands that you can apply pressure with. But it's fine. Like we could also bet 900, for example. That could also be an okay play at this stack depth.
Yeah, he said it. I would also go more in the direction of 900 instead of 600.
100 big blinds, like the half pot size, is kind of preferable. My opponent is in a pretty deep tank. And again, we're quite deep. And he chooses to raise.
Get it in. I mean, he's committed now. I mean, it would be bad if he has jacks, but you cannot put him on jacks necessarily. And this is also a quite good play with some sort of draw, like maybe even as little as 10 Jack Queen, hoping that he has a lot of full equity. Yeah, just stick it in and hope that he has not Jack Jack.
So now obviously you can have jacks, but I don't really think he's going to play jacks this way because it's kind of hard to get action for this amount of money because we're so deep. He could have naked jacks like ace, king, jack, jack, for example, so no straight draw. But also we are unblocking all the queen 10 and 10-8 combos as well as aces. So you can have a hand like ace, ace, 10-8, ace, ace, queen 10. He could have a rundown like queen, jack, 10-9 and so on. And against almost all the combos, we're doing quite well, apart from jacks. So there's no way we can fold this or want to fold this even.
Easy.
So I was relatively happy getting the money in.
Okay.
Given that I didn't think he's going to play jacks this way specifically. And we are in a massive cooler situation, set over set here in a 16k pot against ace, ace, 3-3.
Very lucky.
And this board will brick out in our favor, and we take that nice pot there. Okay, let's move on. I have to like speed this up a little bit at least, otherwise we're not going to get through these amazing hands. $25, $50 blinds. We have two of the big blinds. We no, a great hand. Ace, king, king, 10. Let's see what happens here next. Let's speed this up. Okay, bunch of folds. Oh yeah, this was an interesting hand. So big blind defense is an unknown, also plays very deep. And on this board, the big blind is not supposed to lead any hand.
He leads out. That's very strange. I mean, what the fuck is going on? I mean, UTG is supposed to have all the aces. He probably don't have many ace-ace combos at all. And why the fuck is he leading for pot? I mean, we're starting off with a call.
Hands because we have all the aces. We have a much stronger preflop range. That being said, he does lead pot size. And from my experience, it usually means my opponent has a hand like ace queen, ace 9. It usually is a strong hand. Like you won't see people leading here with a hand like 9, 8, 7, 6 or something like that. That would be way too.
I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what people are leading here. It seems like a bad play. But yeah, I would never say never. So people might be doing this with something quite garbagey.
Aggressive and unusual. So I expect my opponent to actually have a pretty decent hand, but obviously we have the backdoor nut flush draw as well as the inside straight draw, some setouts potentially that are live as well. The turn is obviously the nuts, the jack of hearts. Lucky. My opponent now sizes down to half pot. It's time to raise for me if my opponent happens to have ace queen, queen queen, 9-9, ace jack, the nut flush draw. Like obviously you want to get a lot of value from.
Yeah, I would also raise. I mean, it seems also that he's like a recreational player, also 49 VPIP, probably not folding a set yet, just getting a lot of money in, trying to extract the most value from this dude.
Most hands. So now is the time to raise before the river breaks off or scares my opponent or myself. So we do raise from the turn to 2.8k.
Put it in.
My opponent makes a quick call, and then on the river we pot it for 6,700, putting my opponent all in. So basically, sizing.
And he probably calls with. My guess is queen queen.
The turn in a way where I can shove the river and stack all the chips. And obviously, I could have king king. I could have a hand like ace king king, ace king king deuce or whatever, backdoor diamonds that is now turning its hand into a bluff. But I don't. I have the nuts, and my opponent hangs for a pretty long time. Obviously, a big pot, and ends up making the call in a second with queen, queen, 7-5, $18,669. So was leading with a set, and then decided to call down. Next hand. So this hand actually is a hand that I played very recently.
His opponent could also played this a lot better. I mean, why is he not checking turn? This is insane. Oh, straddle. And looks like, 5-10, but we are playing shallow again.
I think I played this hand yesterday, yeah. So this is 50, 100 with a $200 straddle. I'm in the big blind with a $5,000 stack, roundabout. And it's kind of an interesting spot.
What is this golden thing over his head?
Like, yeah, I mean, no, I'm pretty sure I played it well, but I thought about it and ran some numbers. So pre-flop, we're going to call. It's a little bit dicey because there are a lot of players behind and my hand.
I think that's a first palm fold. I mean, even if you assume that the Tom Poker NL guy is weak and bad, this is not playing well. I mean, everyone is behind, is left to act. This is just stupid. I mean, this hand does not even do well, and it does better in a deeper spot and not with 50 BBs, or even less if you take the straddle into account. I mean, he has like effectively 25, 23 BBs or something. That's just stupid bullshit.
Isn't great multi-way. At the same time, I only have to call 100 to play for the pot. So it's a little bit tricky. You can make arguments for even folding and not even calling the 100 because you will see.
Yeah, I think folding is the way to go. This is the way.
A raise often. But now things actually happen or unfold a little bit different. We see a pot size raise to my left.
Yeah, I mean, he got himself in a very bad spot. And yeah, what you gonna do now? I mean, now you could just do whatever. But it just sucks. I mean, he should have folded in the first place. I mean, he could still go all of the way. I mean, he only has 200 invested, and now he's basically putting in 5k. I mean, he probably now assumes that these guys have high cards, possibly even aces, and he puts it in. And yeah, it's just pure gambling. I mean, it isn't even a bad bet after the action happened, but yes, still, I don't like it at all. He should not have get involved in the first place. And yeah, now it's just like whatever. If he feels like gambling for a huge amount.
From another, you can, I mean, it's not a 50 big blind stack. It's more like a 25 big blind stack given the straddle. So when this guy raises to 850, he's going to be very high card and high pair heavy. And the guy on the cutoff,
I mean, you cannot even see the save it for sure. I mean, which could be a recreational player too. I mean, he has very high VPIP. I don't recognize his name, so it could be a recreational player who's gambling with a hand like 6, 7, 8, 9. And then he's in deep trouble.
Twist is going to rip over the top. He's going to have aces almost exclusively, like sometimes ace, king, king. And that's really good because we have a hand that is completely untouched by the high cards. Like we have a very...
Yeah, I mean, he's talking himself into gambling. I mean, I don't hate it, but given the VPI numbers I see here, you cannot exclusively put people on high cards. Sometimes people do stupid things or really love their rundowns and want to get in a lot of money.
We have a lot of free cards, essentially. And that is going to boost our equity massively. Like you can't do this with all combos and all hands. And this hand is not so well connected. It has 2 gaps. There's a missing 8 and missing 5. If we hadn't had these gaps, it would be better. But if you actually run some 3-way preflop all-in,
this is very deep knowledge he's giving away. When you have less gaps in your hand is better. Who would have known?
It's going to be very tough to not make this hand very profitable to get the money in here because my opponent's going to show up with aces and then top.
Oh, he says it's very profitable to get his money in. I mean, he might be results oriented, but I don't think it's very profitable to get your money in here.
8%, top 12%, top 15%, top 7% or 6%, whatever number you attach here to the guy to my left. Like,
I mean, he's talking a lot of bullshit. Let's just use this bit. I mean, even if it's assumptions are correct, let's give these two guys like the top 10% and see how his hand does against that. I mean, we already exclude like random bullshit, which they could also have given their stats. But let's see how he does against this. Man, need to use Chrome, it seems like. So let's use Chrome instead. Maybe give both guys just a very basic calculation here, and we have 9, 7, 6, 4. You see it's it's clearly massively plus EV, and all guys have about the same equity. What is if we give him ace? Yeah. I mean, he's... What if we... I mean, we could also give one guy some random shit and stuff. So yeah, I don't think it's massively plus EV, and I think he should not get involved in the first place. So let's see what happens. I mean, we already know
I'm
that
going to
he
have
will
a
win,
lot of equity here,
but
given the card removal idea.
Yeah, excited to see what they hold, and yeah, if his assumptions were right. I mean, we cannot say if his or my assumptions are right based on seeing a showdown with just once. And we also have to turn this off because there's another guy in the pot,
so
which you couldn't see because of the
5K,
chat.
I rip it in.
So he rips it in.
Fast forward a little bit. The guy to my left now tanks for a very, very long time. I can actually fast forward this. He had a tricky decision for a three-way pot because he ends up having kings, double-suited kings. Yeah, it was a very long tank, actually. Almost the entire time bank as well. It's almost a 3-minute hand. And the money goes in, and we look into double-suited kings to my left, unfortunately covering my clubs, and then the aces on the top, very standard. And actually in this setup, we still have, I think, 33% equity, which is awesome. There is obviously that money out there.
By the way, what happens if one guy still folds? Yeah, if one guy still folds, we probably still do well because we have the 800 dead money. So, yeah, anyways, it's like Wayne the spot. But yeah, he could. I mean, to be honest, do you want to just gamble your money in a neutral EV spot where you could have avoided the situation in the first place? I mean, variance is also something which you don't like necessarily, and if you are not infinite rich, playing high stakes and having these swings and on purpose getting in situations like this can't be good.
I already put out 200 as well. And again, in many situations, I'm going to have like 34, 35%. If they somehow show up with aces both or each, then we're like crushing completely.
Yeah, and if somehow the Nordquist guy shows up with a rundown that is destroying yours and the other guy has like kings or aces, then you getting fucked completely. Don't forget about this.
But yeah, that's the idea basically. But you got to be selective with the spots where you're going to do this. I have trips by the river, so we're going to win this nice pot here. And actually, the pot size was smaller than the pots previously, but I won more in this. I won more money in this hand because it was a 3-way all-in. So next hand, we show up with a beautiful hand, Ace Jack 10-7. I mean, there's.
It's not that beautiful, to be honest.
Very strong. You generally want a 3-bet. You can use this hand for 4-betting as well.
Yeah. Okay. This is a 4-bet with 2 gaps. Not sure about that. But yeah, definitely isolating the limper. And yeah, nice that we got another dude behind with 100 VPIP. The Chinese guys, I think it's a Chinese flag, seem to have a lot of money that they want to gamble with.
And we do see a 3-bet from the small blind after I ISO the cutoff.
Yeah, I mean, this guy might have a wider range than normal, so yeah, definitely calling.
And this is a hand that, like, how are we playing 200 big steep here? Yeah. So the default is to call, but my buddy on the left, he is very, very aggressive.
Yeah, but still, I mean, your hand is... Are you fucking kidding me again? I mean, even if he is like... I mean, what 3-betting range should we give him that this is a good play? I mean, this seems completely bad again. I mean, the described opponent, I mean, doing 4-bets like this are only good against people who can still fold. And the described opponent probably is never folding, so what are you doing again? This, I strongly disagree with this play. I mean, look at this. Even if he has like 25% opening range, we are 50-50. I mean, what the fuck is he doing? I mean, if he has just 10%, he's a dog. And I'm not even sure if he just can still fold when he is getting shoved on. So that's essentially getting all in. So that's a terrible play again.
Played every hand so far, 100% VPIP. A lot of action, definitely an action player. So actually going to take this hand to war, and I'm going to 4-bet and really just push my luck, you can say, and hope he doesn't have aces or kings. And he just calls the $2,500 4-bet. Flop is ace high. We have 7,500 behind. If I had a slightly stronger hand, I could also consider betting smaller. Obviously, if I had aces, I wouldn't pot. But ace, jack, I mean, we have to...
Yeah, now he has to get it in, and he could still get fucked from something like ace king or ace queen. That might also have like a 10 and a jack too, so that he has very little equity. Yeah, but given the flop, he has to get it in now. But yeah, his play is terrible.
Backdoor flushes and backdoor straight draws. I actually think, looking back at this, I might have gotten a little bit nervous. Sorry, I just woke up kind of. I might have gotten a little bit nervous and decided to pot, but actually not blocking kings. I kind of like the idea of betting something like a quarter or more and trying to make kings come along, because kings is drawing really slim. So I think that this is maybe a little bit too big of a bet size for this spot. Don't like it too much. However, my opponent thinks about it and he's going to get the money in. He has 9, 6, 5, 4.
Lol. Yeah, that's a great play by him. Oh my god, what? Maybe he has like 50% free bet. But even then, we're probably down to 2 bar. What the fuck? I mean, even against 50%, we are only 5% ahead. Yeah, sick dudes. I would also play this game for sure.
So actually pretty good flop for his hand against my hand. He has middle pair and an inside straight draw, 2 pair outs and so on. 20k pot. Run it twice. Yes. Turns is straight. Jesus. We river a flush. And king is good for us, and the jack is good for us. We scoop this pot again. I'm very lucky in these hands. That was a good one. Okay, top 3 hands now. And the first one starts with only a 5k stack. Oh, yeah, this is also an interesting hand. So we see an open raise from Ben Vilanovsky in the MP. Notice the player to my left.
He could just call, to be honest, as his aces are very bad. Yeah, but I slightly prefer 3-betting, but yeah, could call just. I mean, we could also find, although, I mean, it also depends on my reads on the guys behind. If they love to squeeze, I would definitely trap. But yeah, if they are not that active, probably just 3-betting. If it would be rainbow, always just calling.
After sitting out, we just called like some of the worst aces, especially with wheel cards,
a trap.
are generally better suited towards just calling. because they are not going to do well on many flops. So you don't want to pump the pot to a 3-bet pot situation. And then sometimes you have a disguised top set on ace jack 8. So let's see where this goes. Ben first to act out of position against 2 players. He is the initial raiser. He could certainly get away betting here on the flop with a good amount of hands, but he decides to check. I'm going to come out.
Interesting situation. I mean, do you want to bet here? I think yes.
By betting, we're obviously also unblocking a lot of straight draws. Bet 450, it's definitely on the larger end. I can see reasons to bet smaller, but this is fine. We see a call on the button, and Ben Vilanovsky with the pump to 1900. I mean,
he now has to ship it in. Yeah, Ben. Oh, what do we put him on? Like set of 8s or a draw?
He's not folding versus my jam once he raises this large, so it's time to get the money in before some scare cards come around. Maybe he has jacks, and we don't want to scare jacks away on a king or a queen or at 9. So it's time to jam. And as you can tell, based on like how much money we want in this hand, and that's in the top 3, the button will also rip the money in after a pretty considerable tank, to be fair. Oh, actually not. It was pretty quick. Okay, it was a quick all-in. And
this is also very strange that he's not shoving over the top. I mean, he's committed anyways, right?
Ben Vilanovsky will also... Actually, they have money behind. Okay, so he jams over the top again.
Very strange what he just called. Okay, Jack's getting crushed very hard. And yeah, but he also has to assume that nobody has aces, as he has an ace in his hand too. So not that often that in this situation we're just got a 10%. And yeah, most of the equity comes from the backdoor flush draw. Okay, he can also make a set, but yeah, I'm actually surprised that he still has 10%. Yeah, this king, queen, queen, 10 does so surprisingly well.
And so this is a 25k pot, but I'm going to be playing for 15k. Let's have a look. Ace, jack, jack, deuce, pretty dead. Was blocking aces though. Ben Vilanovsky with the check raise on the flop with the wrap. He has a king, queen, 10 or 9 to a straight and backdoor nut spades. However, he's not blocking any of the pairs, so this is a little bit ambitious, but you can see his equity is completely fine, 42% in it.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure how ambitious this is. I mean, he has full equity and stuff, so I don't hate it. And yeah, I think it's completely fine. I mean, he got 12 outs and there's no flush draw on the board. Yeah, I think it's completely fine. He's basically almost never getting crushed. There's just one way to get crushed, and that's if an opponent holds something like 10 queen, king, ace. But yeah, that's like the only possibility you are getting crushed.
3-way all-in. It's also because we are unblocking all these straight draws and
good turn, I would say.
So in general, he's a little bit worse off, but in this case, given the card removal idea, I mean, he's doing pretty good on the flop, but obviously the turn is golden, and we end up winning a very nice pot. We win 15.7k in this one, and then the 9k goes to the jacks. Okay,
second biggest pot, I think. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we playing here? We're playing 100, 200, and there's an ante in the middle of
such a nit, always buying in short
of 100. Plus there is a poster in MP with 200. So a lot of money in the middle to begin with. We see Cantautas with the pot size open raise to 1,000.
It looks like this is an easy one. He probably just squeezes now or 3-bets.
Straight. The real Rambo who was posting will shortly come along. And we have a beautiful hand. Ace, king, king,
yeah, great
double
spot
suited.
for him.
And we're actually playing 50 big blinds deep. We have quote unquote only 10,000. So this is a very, very strong hand in this scenario. We're looking to squeeze. We're looking to get the money in 4,200. We can make it very big, almost half our stack. So this is a quite straightforward decision for us. Cantautas calls and real Rambo is going to fold. The flop is really good, actually. We have an overpair, a gut shot, backdoor flush draw. Very hard to be beat on this board unless my opponent happens to have jacks. So we jam in a second.
Looking good so far.
And we will get called.
I mean, the
don't have much to jam.
Dictates that he has
small
to call
jam,
a lot
basically.
of stuff.
And queen, queen, 5-4 with middle pair, 2 backdoor flush draws and a backdoor straight draw and some setouts. Has a reasonable call. I actually also looked up this hand and it seems to be fine to call the squeeze pre with queen, queen.
Yeah, it looks okay-ish. But yeah. Bad result for him, but yeah, it looks okay-ish how he played it. I mean, he has less than half pot. He has less than pot left on the flop. He does not need too much equity. And he also has a backdoor flush draw, a 5. Can make some straight, so yeah, it's okay, but yeah, pretty unlucky.
5-4 double, $21,900 pot, and I think he's gonna run it one time, but we're gonna cash out feature on GG. We have a
cash out feature. We also have to check if the cash out feature, I mean, I'm not sure if I can find it out. GG cash out. How does it work? Oh. Looks like it's 1% fee for the cash out. Yeah. Okay. It seems that it's actually free on some tables, but VIP tables is 1%. I mean, that's a short Google search I did here. I mean, hard to imagine it. It's actually free on most tables and only VIP tables cost. But I think all these high stakes and sky stakes tables are VIP tables. So he's throwing away 1%. He also would, I mean, well, that's it. Would prefer to have it in English, but for some reason my browser has cookies or whatever, but it's only showing me in German, and I also don't see any option to change the language. So yeah, I mean, GG Poker, we make this .com or .eu. And remove the rest. Maybe we can get the English version then. And we can't. Although, yeah, we can't. Yeah, but it seems like it's free for the most part. So I may have bashed on GG for no reason. But yeah, pretty sure that these high stakes games are VIP tables and he should not use it.
76% equity. So we're going to get 3/4 of this pot, 16,000 and something. 16,000 and change. I end up winning $11,551 in this hand. So the board runs out 2-3.
The biggest pot is incoming soon.
And now we're gonna get to the biggest hand in most recent times against the man, the myth, the legend, Victor Malinowski, aka.
I wonder why he's in this game. Maybe the table just broke. Yeah, I guess that's the reason.
Limitless. We're playing three-handed at 5,100. I'm sitting on 12,000, and I am the shortest stack player.
Not sure about that with 3-bet. But luckily we got a way to figure out if it's correct or not. So yeah, this is how this situation looks. 100 BB is also correct. So let's see what we are supposed to do with King, King, Jack 8. Very bad suit. King, King, Jack 8, bad suit. Okay. Seems like all these, although, look here, EV is 0, so seems, although EV 0, otherwise we would lose 0.5 because we already posted the blind. Correct. So let's compare. Okay, that's only slightly different, slightly worse to just call. Okay, no mistake here, at least from solver perspective.
We 3-bet. King, King, Jack 8. Very standard so far against the button open. Roughly on 100 bigs. 120 bigs or so. Limitless with the call. Beautiful flop. King 10-5. This is a board where we just range bet half pot. So our top set goes in there as well.
Okay, seems like one of the guys from before was Odonkor. I didn't knew what he was playing. PLO, I thought this was a no limit hold'em dude.
Although King 10. Yeah, no, it's fine. We're going to go for the range bet for half.
Yeah.
If the board would be more
quite a good
connected,
flop.
like for example, Queen Jack or Jack 10, we would consider also a large sizing choice. But in this case, half pot is good, turn is a 10. So now we have an interesting decision because we are blocking the king, we're unblocking the 10, we're also unblocking some straight draws. I mean, we have a jack, but once my opponent calls, there's a very defined range of straight draws, 10x with a straight draw, king x with a straight draw. We already have 2 kings, so there's a decent chance he has a 10.
I would bet small. I mean, we might do this with aces too to get the draws out and don't let them see the next card for free.
I'm going to check here on the turn because I think a 10 is betting anyway. Especially, I think Limitless is some.
I mean, Limitless is extremely aggressive. You could even bluff at a small size. I mean, I would bet small, but yeah, checking is okay too.
Someone that is can be very aggressive, so you can also value bet Finn because he will get paid off. So I think 10x is betting here quite often, trying to get value from ace king or ace ace. So I check, and basically I imagine I will get value from a 10, but also from some draws.
Wow, this is quite a huge sizing. I think it's not well chosen. Yeah, I would just call.
He goes for a very large sizing choice, and when he chooses this sizing, there's not really a reason to jam. He's basically implying he has a very strong hand that probably wants to jam.
Yeah, I think no reason to jam either. I would just let him hang himself. Check river too.
River anyway, and all the draws are drawing that against my hand. So it's time to just call. You can make an argument against a very small bet on the turn, like a quarter, for example, to maybe raise, but not against this sizing. I think it's better to just call. River's a 9, doesn't really change much for us. We are obviously super excited. Sometimes we're going to run into 10s, like quads. That's just how poker works. So Victor, thanks for a reasonably long time. And at some point, he will put the money in. And we obviously make the snap call, $24,000 pot. He shows up with the ace jack, 9.
Okay. He called half pot on the flop? Or what? I mean, this seems a bit ambitious.
7 with a little bluffski, and we take down a nice pot. Hopefully you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, he played it perfectly against him. Wow, this is a flop call. He's more used to no limit hold'em. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, like, subscribe, all this good stuff. Seems that against Victor you have to take a lot of passive lines in order to maximize value. I saw a lot of stupid shit from him, or from No Limit Hold'em as well. Yeah, yeah, that was it. Thanks for watching. Bye bye until next time.